G'day everyone, Artist Wayne here, and look, I'm riding my new bike. After our weekend away riding in that place they call Frying Pan Creek, I stripped my bike down and found cracks in the mainframe and cracks in the subframe. My clutch was slipping, parts had fallen off, the muffler was broken, and the list went on and on. So to cut a long story short, I bought my mate Clint's DR650. He had gone out and bought a Yamaha DR450 and put his bike up for sale. Now, to play a little trick on all my mates, I didn't tell them that I bought Clint's bike, and I just moved my tank screen and plastics over to his bike. Obviously the joke didn't work because no one's stupid enough to believe that I could have fixed the bike in the first place. Clint's bike has loads more power than mine. It's had the carby and the airbox opened up, but the suspension was dreadful. This was my first ride on the new DR, and I hit the Wattigans with my mates Mad Mal and Stevo. And within half an hour I was already fatigued. I was absolutely stuffed. It was like riding a pogo stick.
Oh, the suspension is so bad.
Now, on the good side, Clint's DR was a 2016 model with less than 4,000 Ks on the clock. He'd installed a dash, swivel pegs, and has a beautiful sounding Barrett exhaust. And the bike was phenomenal in its throttle response. But like I said, it handled like a pig. I think from memory I must have dropped the bike about 8 times, which equates to being about 4 times more than normal. And of course I got no sympathy from Mal or Steve, who are continually telling me to get a lighter bike. And speaking of lighter bikes, my wife Jackie had recently bought a beautiful Yamaha WR250R. Obviously she's more intelligent than I am. And I got to ride the bike home one afternoon through the Wattigans. And I fell in love with it. I even hit some single trails, and the bike was a dream to ride, especially compared to my new DR. But already I was planning on swapping over my old suspension as soon as I got home. And that just about sums up my first ride on the new bike. In fact, at one stage, this is how my bike ended up. And like this. When I stacked the bike here, I left it sitting there for half an hour. And when we finally picked it up, there must have been a litre of fuel in my airbox. Steve and Mel were not impressed. But on my next ride, like a phoenix reborn from the ashes, I was back with a bike that felt more like my old one. I'd swapped over the suspension and it was time to hit the trails for another shakedown with my mate Theo. He's a fellow DR650 rider, but today he was riding an old school Yamaha XT225. And on this particular day we easily did over 100 Ks of single trails. Now I was still getting used to the responsive throttle on this bike, and the other small problem I had were the different bark busters installed on the bike, which made the bars a little wider, so I was continually hitting trees. But the bike was performing well, I was getting used to it, so I was back to being a happy chappy. This was my first fun ride on the new beast. The The next day I was out again, this time riding with my mate Clint, the former owner of the bike I now call my own. After yesterday I was feeling much better, so it was time to join up with Clint and our mate Sam and head through the Wattigans over to Yengo National Park. And even though we were travelling further today, we still found time to hit some single trails along the way. Clint was getting used to his new WR450 and I was feeling more and more at home on the mighty DR650. And as for our mate Sam, well, he just likes to play in the mud. And whilst we were on our way over to Yengo, we made a little detour. There was a track that I wanted to check out for the following weekend. And when we arrived, we just happened to see some boys on their chook chasers coming down.
Going up there? Not even up a chicken track.
That's right, the following weekend was our Christmas party get-together, organised by my mate Alan Wilson. And some of us, well, the ones that aren't quite right, were planning to try and ride this. It's called Wave Rock Road. But that was on the to-do list for the following weekend. Clint, Sam and I were heading to Yengo, where we bushwalked up to a huge rock that has some awesome Aboriginal rock carvings. And along the way I got to ride my mate Clint's Yamaha WR450. It had been another top day's adventure riding. In fact, it had been a top weekend and I was now settling in to the new DR650. I'm artist Wayne Dowsent, and thanks for watching everyone.